Hello, this is just a quick and dirty little tutorial about how this Excelidator Urban tool works. Basically, I have pointed at the 2018 version of the Urban database, which I obtained from somewhere, but there, as I recall, a number of CSV files that were all in a directory. We can also point this at the .db file, the SQLite database, to get the input files. So the input files that are in here can be seen in the PowerPivot data model. So if we go to PowerPivot and we go to Manage, we'll load the data model and we can see the files involved. As you can see, the data model is quite simple, and I have some extra stuff in here that's not required. I haven't streamlined this yet, but the point is we've just got the ID tree, the ID cond, the ID plot strat calc assign table, and ID plot and pop stratum calc. And all these are kind of joined up, and it's easy to define these joins. So the point is that this is predefined. So we can go out of PowerPivot and go back to the normal database. And what I've done is, because I've got that data model in PowerPivot, I can create a pivot table that takes advantage of the joins and the relationships between all the different files. So in this pivot table, what I'm doing here is I am making a table where I've got two row variables, species code and FIA land use. And this is just a simple example. I have the thing I'm summarizing. I have defined in this measure. A measure is like a function, and the function, that what it's doing is it's implementing the Green Book estimators to aggregate TPA unadjusted, or basically what a validator and the Oracle database scripts use to generate counts of numbers of trees per plot. So it uses the appropriate adjustment factors and all that, and I think this is just looking at live trees. So basically this measure, which we don't have to go into now, but I can show you how it's written, is at some point in the future, is this function that when you use it in the values section of the pivot table, it applies the function for every combination of the input values that I've specified here. So what have I got here? I've got my output table, which has two columns. It has the value of the measure, which I could rename the total number of trees, but I'm just calling it measure 1 for now, and this sampling error of the total number of trees. So we have several combinations, and this is one thing that I haven't done yet. The species code and the land use are the actual database codes. We can have lookup tables to, the ref species table, basically, to make this like species common name. And the same thing, if we had a lookup table for FI land use code, we could have a more text descriptor here that we would use in place of just the raw column names here. So anyway, that's about all there is to really show about this. How do I know that it seems to be working right? Well, I go down to where there does exist a combination of these things, and the not applicable, we can filter those out if you don't want to look at them. We have 68, species 68, which I believe is red, or is juniper, eastern red cedar, and the FIA land use code 10, whatever that is in the Urban database. The value is 5,700 with a sampling error of 51%, or excuse me, 5,700,000 with a sampling error of 51%. And I did the same query in a validator, and I get the same exact number. So basically, I have generated a number in a validator using, and here's the API, which you can just paste into a browser to duplicate this table. The point is, it generates the exact same number for live eastern red cedar on forest land, along with the exact same sampling error. So what that tells me is that it's correctly taking into account these partitions that I've created in the database. So if you wanted to, you could get rid of species code and just have it by land use, for example. And these are the totals and the total numbers of trees and the sampling errors just by land use. If I didn't want to use land use, I could use some other thing. So for example, let's say I was interested in some other tree attribute. Let's say I wanted it by, let's see here, some other interesting attribute that I might care about. How about, I don't know, some categorical variable? Tree grade, we could try that. Get rid of land use, or we could put, mortality code over here, So basically it just immediately constructs the table instantaneously, and it gives you your value of total number of trees and the associated sampling error for a given combination of basically the row and column variables. And if I wanted to do a page filter, I could as well. That's all. Let me know if you have any questions or want me to demonstrate it in real life.